I think because you are clearly missing that sort of just that little attacking spark. Really, just that player who can do something. In terms of January, if Leeds want to get someone in, they will have to sell up because they are at the PSR limit.
We know getting to away games can be really expensive, and you don't want that feeling that you've overpaid for your trains. That's why we're proud to partner with Train Splits, the best place to book your train tickets. There's an offer for Leeds That listeners where you can get £10 off any digital rail card with code LEEDS10. Get discounted tickets, save up to 33%. So if you're heading to an away day, download Train Split and save. Use code LEEDS10 for £10 off a digital rail card. Details at trainsplit.com/Leeds.
Hello and welcome to the Leeds That podcast. I'm Rocco and I'm delighted to be joined by Isaac Johnson from Leeds Live. Hi, Isaac.
Hi there. You okay, Rocco?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Very good. Quite positive, actually, about the
Good.
season.
I'm glad to hear that. Are you enjoying being a Premier League journalist?
Yes, that is very nice. It's very nice. The media suites are a lot more bougie than some of the ones we had in the Championship, and the food's gone up and all that. So, yeah, I can't complain.
Brilliant, yeah. Plus, I bet Arsenal was the highlight of your season, the low light of everyone else's.
Gosh, it was that was next level. Yeah, that was very. They had what did they have? They had like a stir fry going on, and put it this way, it was a far cry from a cold pie at Oxford. So
yeah,
you know.
I've experienced the media room at Brighton, and it was very impressive. So you'll look forward to that in a few weeks. So yeah, pretty good start to the season. How have you thought Leeds have adapted so far? Are you pretty impressed?
Yeah, I think you've got to be positive. I know that Leeds could have had more points at Fulham, at Bournemouth, but 8 points from 7 games as a newly promoted team. I think you've got to be happy with that. I mean, if you said that at the start of the season before a ball was kicked, you go, yeah, I'd take that. Okay, it's not out of this world, but it's definitely not bad. I mean, it's the aim from the club is to, or at least from Daniel Farke, is to get 1 point a game, and they're ahead of that at the moment. And apart from the Arsenal game, they've been really competitive in every single game. It's just been really positive to see. Now, there is obviously question marks over goals still. I know they scored in 3 games in a row, and that is still, there's still a few questions to answer there, I think. But overall, I think it's a good start.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because if you would have gone through the fixtures at the start of the season and earmark where you might get points, they've pretty much done what you would map out, to get to this point. So I'm happy. And I think a lot of people have been impressed with Farke as well. I think he seems to have won people over who were doubting his nous at Premier League level. I think he has adapted. We've seen a different style of play. Obviously, you've been to nearly all the games. And yeah, how have you found that different style? Is it noticeably different in the flesh?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's had to be, because obviously Leeds were no way going to have the same amount of possession as last season. So it was not a case of if, it was a case of how is Farke going to try and do things differently. And obviously we saw in the summer that it was big bulky guys, and so far that's been the sort of ploy, especially with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who I think's been, apart from maybe his missed chances, who's been excellent for Leeds, really. So yeah, you could definitely see there's a different style of play. I think Farke's done exactly what he said he wanted to do at the start of the season, which was not go absolutely sort of on a tangent from where he was before. And he still keeps some of the philosophies, but he's just adapting it for the oppositions, basically, and not having as much as the ball. I think the defence looks quite solid. I think the midfield is a cracking midfield. I really do. I think the options they've got there is really good. I mean, Longstaff's growing game by game. He's been brilliant. Yeah, and obviously there's a few question marks over the attack, but then that's been the question that we've all been asking ever since deadline day. But they've scored 6 goals in 3 games.
Yeah.
They have. It's not like they haven't answered questions. But yeah, in terms of style of play, there has been a bit of a notable difference, more so with sort of the big bulkier guys and holding it up and taking the play on.
It's quite nice to see, really. As a Leeds fan, I like the combative style, and I think it's pretty inspired, really. So let's hope it keeps working. And in terms of the players who have adapted to the Premier League, which would be the ones that have stuck out the most for you? You know, from the Championship players last season, who has adapted quickest?
Good question. Does Joe Rodon count? I know he's been in the Premier League before.
Yeah.
But he's just taken to it like a duck to water. And you could tell he's had previous Premier League experience. I think out of all the ones, Bogle as well. Bogle, again, he's been in the Premier League before. But in terms of those who were there last year and this year, I think those two are, from off the top of my head, they're the ones who adapted the most. I think Ambatu's not been bad. He's been pretty good. There has been parts of the game he needs to sort of improve. I think we'll just be mindful of more so is tackling. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's just in the Premier League, you're going to get more yellow cards for certain fouls than you would in the Championship. Yeah, so out of those, I think Bogle's been amazing. He's just continued on his form from last season and probably got even better, actually, despite his injury problems. And Rodon has been terrific too. Probably Leeds' most important player, I'd say, this season.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned about Bogle's injury problems because, in the Spurs game, obviously he had to come off. He took a really wild shot in the second half and he probably should have passed it, and he like pulled up, and I was sure he was just pretending to be injured to save face, but after that he couldn't barely run. So he's clearly not fully recovered from the issue that he had.
Well, I asked Daniel Farke about that afterwards because I saw that too, and he played on for a little bit. So I thought, all right, well, that's a good sign if he's played on for a little bit. And Farke said he had missed a training session during the week due to a little calf problem, but that he was fine and he was only taken off due to tiredness rather than any injury. So I think we're all good on that front. And anyway, it'll be 2 weeks. He has 2 weeks rest, so I think he'll be fine.
Well, that's good. Yeah. And similar for Dan James as well. And his dodgy ACL. Or was it an ankle in the end? I can't remember.
Yeah.
He's going to be all right, isn't he?
Yeah,
you didn't get sucked into that. I was quite impressed, Isaac. Well done for holding fire on that.
No. I mean, there's a lot of things going around and you just need to be careful and verify stuff, don't you? So, yeah, it did turn out to be his ankle. From what Carl Darlow has been saying, actually, the 4 to 6 weeks timeline is the best scenario that they could have had. They were very fearful initially that it could have been longer. I think James was too. And obviously, he's had a bit of a time with injury since April, ever since he went down against it was Middlesbrough, wasn't it? That he had to come off. Yeah. And he's just, let's be honest, he hasn't really looked the same since. And I remember saying at the time that he went off, I said, if there's one injury as a winger you don't want to have, it is that hamstring. Now, obviously, he's out with an ankle injury, so this is different story. But in terms of his injury sort of progress over the last 6 months now, he hasn't really looked the same, has he? And I would say there is a debate as to who's the strongest right winger at the moment when everyone's fit because of that. So yeah, but nevertheless, it's still a blow not to have him because of his pace and his knowledge of the Premier League. But yeah, in terms of his time on the sidelines, it sounds like actually Leeds have got quite lucky with it.
Yeah. That right wing position is up for debate, shall we say. What have you thought of Aronson so far? I mean, he's certainly done a job, but, we've got Harrison knocking on the door, Gnonto coming back, and James as well. Do you think there's any chance that he'll keep Aronson in there? Obviously, he likes him.
There's definitely a chance. In terms of Burnley, I think, and I've said this online as well, USA, now Aronson's in the USA squad, and during the week before Leeds travel to Burnley, he plays in the early hours of Wednesday for the USA against Australia, I think, in a friendly. That's UK time, obviously. So that means he's got to, whether he plays or not, he'll be at that match. Then he's got to fly back to Leeds, whenever that is. Then he'll be returning late. Does he get a training session in? Does he not? Now, you would say if there's one player who can probably cope with that is Aronson. So maybe he starts against Burnley, but I would not be surprised if Willie Gnonto does start on the right. because of that scenario, and also he wasn't too far off making the cut against Spurs either. So, and obviously he's not on international duty this break, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Gnonto there. In terms of Aronson's progress over the last 4 games he started now, isn't it? I think he's grown. I think that's been evident. I think his defensive work has been really good, and I think he's turned balls over as well. But what we saw against Spurs was he was jinking in and out of players, he was turning his man, and he was doing more offensively. And obviously, it was his shot that led to the against Wolves. I thought he did okay. I think a lot of people were pleased with how he did against Wolves, and that's absolutely fine. I still thought in the final third he was lacking quite a bit, but since then, he's been really good. Well, I say really good. He's been better. He's been better than what he was before, and he probably should have an assist. Really, if you think about the chances that he's created for Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, well, the overhead kick especially. I mean, if another player does that, we're waxing lyrical, aren't we?
Exactly, and I understand why Farke has played him there. It's not like I can't. It's not like it was a wild sort of selection. I understand. But at the same time, you do need that final third bite, someone who's going to make the difference. And even though Aronson has sort of, he's been better in the final third, I would say he's still got a little bit of a way to go in terms of fully getting that, getting ahead fully of Gnonto and James. I think James and Gnonto are difference makers, as you were.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
And I think we need them as well. Having the extra midfielder in there, one less attacker already, front 4 into a front 3, you surely need the 3 to be dangerous, don't you? So it's going to be interesting. But it's good that we've got options. And, we were saying in the podcast last time, listing the players who are still to come in and hopefully improve the team, like Perry, Tanaka's kicking his heels, and Bijol as well. Obviously admitted that he's not happy not playing. Frustrating time for him, surely.
To be honest, he was quite reasonable in his comments, but he's also quite forthright as well. So he was like, I'm not happy with the situation. I want to play, but I understand the reason why. I understand that Pascal's played well. I understand that centre-backs don't get changed that much as well. One interesting line from the comments he gave to the interviewers was he said, "Now we've had a few poorer results. I hope I'll get my chance soon." I was like, well, that's quite interesting that he said that. I think, and Tanaka's come out and said a similar thing when he was asked in Japan about his lineup omissions. I think you can't be surprised when players come out and say this. What are they going to say? They're not going to say, "Oh no, I'm all right, I'm happy on the bench." They're going to say that, and that's fine. But I can understand why they feel that way. But I would say that it's actually a good thing that they feel like that for Farke, because he's got players who are hungry. So if a midfielder isn't playing fantastic, for example, you've got Tanaka who can come in. It was a fantastic option. And I wonder, I don't think he will, but I think there's certainly debate if Stack doesn't play terrifically against Burnley. There's a debate there to be had whether he gets replaced by Tanaka. In terms of Bijol, obviously the centre-back situation is more rigid, and that's what Farke has said before on that. I think you can't, but the trouble is, when do you introduce him? Because you can't leave him on the bench. You spent £15 million on him. And I remember a few weeks ago, Farke said, well, actually, if you think of the top teams in the Premier League, 15 million isn't a lot. But for Leeds, it is.
Yeah.
Leeds, it is. And in the long run, are you going to have Struijk there? Are you going to have, or do you prefer Bijol there? I think time will tell with that. I think Struijk's done very well to sort of keep Bijol out of the team. And it has been on that knock-on effect, because obviously Bijol was suspended for the first day, which, by the way, I think that rule is absolutely ludicrous. You've got a red card in a totally different competition, a totally different country, and you're not allowed to play in another competition. I just don't get that, to be honest.
No.
But as a result, he's having to wait. But if there is a time to introduce him, you would think it would be after having had 2 games for Slovenia, and so he's match ready, and against perhaps a bottom 3 side against Burnley. But then in the last international break, when that happened, he stayed with Struijk, and that was an away game at Fulham. So I don't know what's going to happen really, because we are in the middle of October and the £15 million defender that everyone thought would play every game hasn't played his Premier League debut yet.
Yeah, yeah. It is interesting, isn't it? I feel like he'll give Strauch another chance. I think he'll play again. But yeah, the pressure must be mounting, and it's a good thing for Leeds, like you say. But the one for me that I'm a bit worried about really is Perry, because I don't know, for a goalkeeper, it's that pressure. You know, everyone feels comfortable now with Darlow, and if then Perry comes back in when Darlow's not really made a mistake, you know, he has to be perfect. It's just a bit of a strange dynamic with a keeper. Yeah, what are you thinking there? Is it a similar situation, wait until he messes up, or just bring him back in?
I think that is the biggest debate point for when we chat to Farke, because my sort of prediction would be that he brings Perry back in. But then me with goalkeeper predictions, let's not, too much weight on that. Because at the end of the day, he's brought in a new goalkeeper because he thought Darlow wouldn't be able to last a full season or wasn't good enough for a full season. That's why they brought a new keeper in. But then Darlow's played really well. He doesn't deserve to get dropped. And also, he'll have 2 matches with Wales. I know with goalkeepers it's not about fitness, but it is about sort of that match readiness and that sort of alertness. Darlow's on that role at the moment. I think it'd be incredibly harsh to drop Darlow. I really do. I Parker has this meritocracy system with all the areas on the pitch where if you do well and you perform well when you're given your chance, you will stay in. Now, with the goalkeeper situation, it's obviously slightly different because of the nature of the role, but also Farke has also said in the past that he doesn't like to change his pecking order that much. And we don't know what promises were given to Perry. We don't know if he himself is a confident goalkeeper in terms of does he come back in straight away? How will he react if he doesn't? So there's loads of variables there. What messages are sent to Darlow, even if he's done well? He's done nothing wrong. You can't blame him for the 2 goals that went in, I don't think, against Spurs. He made some really good saves. He's been solid. Like you say, his defenders know him and trust him. I think the sensible thing is to keep Darlow in, but it depends what Farke's mindset is, and it depends on perhaps promises that were made. I mean, I don't know if there are any promises from the...
It's funny, in some ways with a keeper like Perry, I think he probably has to be patient. And, you'd like to think that Perry's going to be at Ellen Road for, years to come. He's got a long time to get his, to win his place in the team. And yeah, goalkeeper, his mindset should be, well, if my colleague is doing well, I don't deserve to come in. So I'd like to think that, it's at least calm in that situation, and he's not going to, you could imagine Bijol getting more annoyed, not even coming off the bench and things like that. But yeah, it's very interesting. And wanted to talk also about who must have been the best signing so far anyway, Longstaff. Seemed to be a revelation. He seems to have already joined the leadership group. Have you any insight into sort of his influence behind the scenes and what he's doing off the pitch as well as on the pitch?
Yeah, so again, after the which game did he score in now? It's all into
Bournemouth.
Bournemouth, of course it was. So after that game, I asked Farke about his leadership, because I think everyone has seen now that after the first goal went in, he beckoned everyone over to come in the huddle and sort of inspire the team to tell them they're good enough and to keep confidence. And I asked Farke, has he become a leader already in the dressing room? And he said, well, actually, I prefer it when players lead by example on the pitch and with their actions, and Sean does do that. So on that score, Farke's happy with him. But then I also spoke to Joe Rodon as well, and he said that he has become one of the sort of main figures already in the dressing room. And no wonder, because out of all the midfield, he's the most Premier League experienced midfielder there. He might be, I don't know, but he's definitely one of the most in the squad as well with his appearances. Yeah. So you got to use that, and with that you bring like some gravitas with you with that, and respect as well. So yeah, it's interesting because I was speaking to Michael Bridges in pre-season. This was in Stockholm, and he was saying that Longstaff was ready to become a leader at a club. Obviously, he had a little bit of that at Newcastle, but different situation with Leeds and newly promoted team. And he had told him that he was ready to sort of move into that sort of role in this time in his career. So it looks like that's happening. And as everyone has seen on the pitch, not only with his play, but also with his mannerisms as well. He can definitely be a leader for Leeds. And I would say, I would actually put Gudmundsson as the best new signing so far, and then Longstaff very, very close second. I think them's been brilliant.
He's been awesome, Gudmundsson, hasn't he? He's just looks like a really, really accomplished left back. And I think a lot of fans are surprised that we even got him. So this is the thing. The club came in for a lot of criticism at the end of the window. Looking back now, we've had a fair few games. I think most people would say that we had a pretty reasonable window. Obviously, the end wasn't perfect, but looking back now, what would you give that window out of 10? And then moving into January, I guess the target is going to be the same as it was at the end of the last window, to try and get at least another attacking player in, be it a 10 or a winger.
In terms of the summer rating out of 10, if I had to say right now, I think you give it an 8, but only in May will we know for sure what it was out of 10. I think because you are clearly missing that sort of just that little attacking spark, really. It's just that player can do something. In terms of January, if Leeds want to get someone in, they will have to sell up because they are at the PSR limit. Now, whether they sell someone in January or whether they sell someone after the end of the season, but before July the 1st, which is when the new PSR cycle starts, it could be either or of that. You like to think they'll be able to get Mele off the books in January, and that'll free up either enough for a loan or very, very cheap signing. I don't think that'll be enough for a right winger, whatever he gets. If he does go, I can't see him going, if I'm being honest, because at the end of the day, he's a free agent next summer, and which club is going to pay X million for him when they can just get him for free in the summer? So I think he's here for the. So that means they'll have to either sell someone else, or that means they will have to wait until the end of the season and try and offload someone then. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do try and get that other final piece of the jigsaw, as Robbie Evans said earlier this year or earlier this summer. But whether they get him or not is another matter, because they're going to have to create headspace for that. So
risky, isn't it?
It would be a sensible move football-wise to do it.
Yeah.
And also, you have to think. You don't know what injury is going to come up. You don't know if, for example, if someone's going to be, unfortunately, we really, really hope not, touch wood, but if someone does do their ACL and it's a key player, then you have to reinforce that area. So there's so many variables at this stage. But if it was right now, then a right winger would be sensible. But also, you have, like you say, it is tricky because you've got to balance the PSR limits.
Yeah, and Joseph hasn't had the best of times so far, has he, in Spain, by all accounts? So
no.
he might not be sellable before June the 1st. So yeah, things to consider. It's going to be an interesting time, but we don't need to plague you with January just yet. There's plenty of time for that in a couple of months. So looking forward to Burnley quickly. I mean, do you want to give us a prediction? Do you think we'll win?
Oh gosh, I think we definitely could win. I think Burnley will have to be quite attacking, because they'll think, oh, Leeds are a relegation rival, we need to win. I think that could play into Leeds' hands. I think they could find spaces there. So I am going to be optimistic and go for a 2-1 win for Leeds.
I was thinking the same. Let's hope we're both right. Well, it's been great to catch up with you, Isaac. And yeah, all the listeners can catch you on Leeds Live. They should all download the app. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's a much easier process to read.
Also, if you, I've got a newsletter that is weekly now. It's been really good, had really good feedback. So if you do follow it, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. If
Substack.
Substack, that's right. Yeah. So if you go on my Twitter profile, you'll be able to see, if you scroll down, you'll be able to see some of the lists that I've done. So that's another way as well.
Great stuff. Nice one. Well, good to see you again. And hopefully we'll speak in a few weeks and everything's still looking quite rosy.
Yes. Let's hope. Thank you.
Cheers, Isaac. Bye-bye.